The Devil's Soul, Book 2, Chapter 12, Section 8, Dayton, 1975. A group of bikers lounged in mismatched chairs around a pool table at the community center. The air smelled of oil and cigarettes. The men wore leather jackets with patches identifying their affiliation. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with a scruffy beard, lined up his shot. Fedor stood nearby, hands clasped behind his back, watching the game unfold. His wiry frame was slightly hunched, and his hair was beginning to gray at the temples when one of the men made a particularly difficult shot. Fedor nodded approvingly. "You got a sharp eye for geometry," he said. His voice was calm but commanding, and the players paused to glance at him, maybe unsure how to respond. "Guess I do," the man said in a low voice, chalking his Q-tip. Fedor's face softened to a smile. "We all have talents worth refining. Sometimes they're not what we expect." Another biker, sitting cross-legged on the floor, teased, "You going to tell us how Jesus shot pool too?" Was a ripple of laughter, but Fedor didn't react. "Jesus likely never held a cue stick," he said robustly, "but he was pretty good at drawing circles in the sand." The laughter subsided into a casual quiet, and the men returned to their game. Dale, a younger man leaning against the wall, watched Fedor with seeming interest. His jeans were torn at the knees, and his leather vest was plain, lacking the elaborate patches the others wore. "Come on, Dale," one of the bikers called. "You playing?" "Nah," Dale said, waving them off. He stepped closer to Fedor. "You going to stick around tonight?" "I am," Fedor replied. He gestured toward the kitchenette. "Help yourself if you're hungry. There's bread and cheese." Dale shrugged. "Do you really think these guys will ever get saved?" "Change isn't an event." Fedor poured coffee. "It's sometimes a process." Dale's expression was unreadable. "Guess that makes sense." The congregation murmured as the bikers entered, their heavy boots thudding on the floorboards. Heads turned as the men slid into the pews near the back. Their leather vests stood out starkly. Fedor stood at the pulpit, appearing unbothered by the stir. He opened his Bible and began to read, his voice rhythmic. "The Spirit of the Lord is upon us." The bikers shifted in their seats, some leaning back with arms crossed, others staring intently at the decorations. One of the older women in the front row turned to ogle them, her lips pursed. Fedor's gaze flicked to her briefly before continuing his sermon. After the service, a few of the bikers lingered near this entrance, speaking louder than the others. One lit a cigarette just outside the doors, or earning another disapproving look from the same austere woman. Dale stood off to the side, watching as Fedor shook hands with the departing parishioners. When the line thinned, he approached, hands shoved into his pockets. "Guess they didn't kick us out," Dale said. Fedor's face was flat. "No way." Dale smirked. "Not exactly the kind of crowd church folks like." "They're not my only concern." Fedor gestured for Dale to follow him inside. They smiled simultaneously as the outside air seemed to relieve some tension, rousing some vigor between them.